Right, question number 1 from Alan Curtis. He says, how important is feeling the lead down to me? It can be very, very important, or not important at all. You know, if you were, say, fishing to an island and it was more important to be really tight, then feeling the lead down would be sort of a negative thing because it'd be swinging away. But for all other instances, it gives you better presentation of hook bait. But really, the real key for it is it's the indication you get on the rod tip that gives you an idea of what you're fishing over, you know. And knowing that your rig's presented well on a hard bottom is a great thing, you know. You can be not fishing or fishing and tell you, it will indicate that to you by that impact as it hits the bottom, which will register on the rod tip. So it's very, very important. Chris Sampson asks, if I could use only one bait for the rest of my life and it wasn't boilies, what would it be? It would probably have to be tiger nuts, because they're very sort of nuisance fish proof. We know big carp like to eat them, so yeah, I'd probably say tiger nuts. Although I love sweet corn, and I'll probably use sweet corn more than I do tiger nuts, but in the wrong situation, you know, you can get breamed and tenched out massively using sweet corn. So yeah, tiger nuts would be my number 1 choice after using boilies. Alex Glennon asked my favourite size and pattern of hook and why. I probably find myself using a size 8 choddy for most of my fishing these days, and that's because the back turned eye suits the rigs that I use, which has got the like the coating, you know. If I'm using semi-stiff end trap or end trap soft, to keep the coating on through the eye, and that back turned eye allows me to keep the gape of the hook open, you know. A choddy hook and a wide gape hook are pretty much, well, they're 99% the same. One's got a back turned eye and one's got a down turned eye, so it's that shape of hook that I favour for all of my rigs. James Nunn asks, would I prefer a £50 UK common or 3 £40 UK mirrors? Well, I don't like to think of carp as numbers as such, so it would all depend on the venues they were from, the type of fish they were, how big they were compared to the other ones in there. So I would prefer to catch a £50 UK common, because I've not caught one. So yeah, I would love to catch a £50 UK common, but at the same time, if you said could I catch 3 49-pounders that were all like either a linear, a fully scaled, or never caught before carp, then it'd be hard to turn that down, obviously. Right, Jamie O'Connor, he asked if I was to go to a lake that I've never been to for a 24-hour session and I'd found fish showing into an area, what rig would I turn to cast those fish, bearing in mind that I didn't know what the bottom was like, I didn't know how deep it was. That's what he's asked. We'd have to have a rough idea of what you were casting over. You know, if it was a murky lake and you thought it was quite silty, fairly clean, then I would just cast out what I normally do, my little pop-up rig. But if it looked like there was weed everywhere and I thought it was really highly unlikely that I could get a drop and present a standard rig, then you'd have to go in with a chod rig. But generally I don't. Generally I trust that the bottom's clean enough and I feel it down, and as long as I get a good indication, like a bit of a kickback on the rod tip, I'm satisfied that I'm probably presented tidily. Tom Warren asks, my first ever species and how I got into carp fishing. The first ever fish I ever caught was a rudd, and the first ever one that I caught on my own by myself was a gudgeon. I got into carp fishing, like as if you mean sitting behind buzzers and that sort of thing, at the age of 11. It just seemed like my friends were doing it down the local park lakes. It was just a natural thing to try once I'd done a bit of river fishing, catching the odd pike and whatever else came along. But yeah, my mates at school were going carp fishing, and yeah, it was natural that I followed suit. Peter Bowler asked, did I ever use a bait boat on Monk's Pit? No, I didn't. Stephen Cartwright, what's the best tactics over the winter period? To be honest, I use the same sort of tactics. I might fish over a little bit less bait, I might fish over a lot of the bait. It depends on the venue really, but it really boils down to location as always, and that location, they can often be not moving around so much in the winter, so you really have to go to where they are, because they aren't covering a lot of ground necessarily in the winter. So yeah, location is the key to that. Ben Hutt, if I wasn't a professional carp angler, what other sport would I play or do? Well, I'm not particularly good at anything. I'm certainly rubbish at football. I was pretty good at cricket at school, but I got pretty bored standing out on the touchline for 50 overs before waiting for your turn to get him back, you know, absolutely rubbish. tennis, I quite like tennis, but yeah, no, there's not many other sports that I think I would want to do as regularly as I do carp fishing. I think I'd get pretty bored unless I was good enough to play football.